All right. So here we got the original 1974 Charles Bronson Death Wish movie I always love to talk about. It's a vigilante flick. It's a vigilante flick that they say it when you look at it on the internet. They say it glorifies vigilanteism. I don't believe it does. I believe that it shows that vengeance can consume you and kind of overtake your thinking. So, Paul Kersey, Charles Bronson's character, Paul Kersey, he's living a nice life. He's an architect. In fact, the movie starts with him on vacation in Hawaii with his wife, and he comes back to New York City. Ugh. Why would you leave Hawaii for New York City? I mean, granted, it was a vacation, but whatever. That's another story. So he comes back to his architect job in New York City, and he's at work, and his wife and his daughter, they're out shopping at a grocery store, and three goons, one who was played by Jeff Goldblum, by the way, who's wearing a hat like he's Jughead from the Archie comics for some reason. They they follow his wife and his daughter back to the apartment. They pretend they're the delivery guy, and they sexually assault his daughter. They beat his wife pretty badly. So badly that she's dead. When Paul Kersey gets to the hospital, he finds out that she died. And his daughter is pretty much in a catatonic state after the whole ordeal. So he decides it's time to fight back because the police aren't helping him. Even like his son-in-law says to him later on in the movie, he says, the two of them are just another statistic for the police. So he's having a rough time. And his boss decides to send him out to Tucson, Arizona, where he meets a nice, kind fella who he wants to develop land for, who he wants him to help develop a property for, but who also introduces him to this way, the way of the gun, the way of vigilantism, and fighting back. He takes him to a gun club. He takes him to the firing range, asking him questions about, his family and stuff. He tells the guy a pretty tragic backstory about his father died in a hunting accident, shot by another hunter who thought he was a deer. Yeah, that's pretty bad. uh, well, even before he goes out to Arizona, he gets $20 in quarters, puts them in a sock, and bashes a mugger in the face, and the mugger runs off. So he kind of gets a taste for vigilantism. before he even decides to pick up a gun. But dude back in Arizona gives him a little present. He says, "Here, take this with you. It's a carry-on, right?" I guess this was before they could search you for guns in your luggage on an airplane. So he comes back from Arizona, and all hell breaks loose because he just has bloodthirst and vengeance on his mind. He decides, I'm not taking your shit anymore. And he's he's getting I think he's got to be trying to get mugged on purpose, right? I swear, it's like it's like Paul Kersey has a sign around his neck that says "Mug me, please," because there's numerous times in this movie where there's mugging attempts on just him walking down the street. So he like his whole thing is like going out at night, walking the streets, trying to see who's gonna start some beef with him, and he finds it. He finds it on numerous occasions. This part right here, he's sitting on the subway, and these two really goofy looking muggers. They they he slices this one guy slices his newspaper in half while he's reading it, and oh man, he's just shooting people left and right. If anyone remembers from the 1980s, there was this guy here in New York City named Bernard Getz. I think he must have loved this movie because he does the same thing. Bernard Getz, he shot one of the guys who tried to mug him, and the guy was on the floor moving around. He's like, "Oh, you look okay. Have another." And he blasted him while he was still on the ground. Yeah, he does this a few times. Paul Kersey does this a few times in this movie. He blasts people well after he's wounded them. So they the city is all up in arms about the vigilante killer, and they send in an inspector to investigate it, and he's doing his damnedest to find out about Kersey, but he's taken in by the commissioner, and they tell him, "We don't want this guy caught. We want you to just scare him off if you could find him." Which I write. There's two things here. Is like they want one. All right, muggings are down since the vigilante killer has been out there, and but they don't want copycats. They don't want vigilante copycats. And also, people are confessing left and right to the vigilante killings. I don't know why, but people are calling into the police precincts and saying, "I'm confessing to," and the guy, Ochoa, the inspector, he just takes it all as a big joke. It's like, "That's the 23rd guy today." So Kersey is real sly about it. He keeps his gun in his office, by the way, in his office at his architect place. Police are on his ass. That they're all breaking stuff down about victims within. They track down the D'Agostino stores because everything is led back to D'Agostino supermarkets. So he's purposely looking out, going out and killing people going out and killing muggers, cleaning up the streets. But the police are very concerned about catching this vigilante killer. Maybe they're jealous because he's doing what they can't do. I don't know. But the very last part of the movie, three muggers in the park. He kills two of them. He's got one on the run. And he's hit by some gunfire by the last mugger. But the last mugger gets away. He's wounded. And he ends up in the hospital. And Inspector Ochoa manages to get his gun from a beat cop that covered it up. So Ochoa finds him in his hospital bed, tells him to leave New York City, and he'll ditch the gun and tell the media, no, Paul Kersey was not the vigilante. Paul Kersey was just a victim of muggers. So what happens? So, the end of the movie, Kersey ends up in Chicago. And here's where this scene comes into play. This right here. Kersey's in the station in Chicago, and the guy's welcoming him. And Kersey sees some young lady getting harassed by a bunch of, I don't know, I don't even know if you could call them thugs, because they look like a bunch of idiot hippies. Whatever. And he helps her with her things, and the goons are walking away. And he gives them this little gesture, saying, maybe sometime I'll see you down the line. You better hope not. But I love this movie. It's not the greatest acted movie in the world, but the story is pretty hard hitting. It's I don't think it glorifies being a vigilante. I think it shows you the consequences of what could come from trying to actually go out and do this sort of thing. But this is a movie that I didn't see for a long time. Granted, this movie's older than me, not only by like about 5 years, 6 years. But when I finally got to watch this movie, it stuck with me a lot. And it's always a movie I like to go back and watch. And next solo movie review I'm going to do is going to be Death Wish 2. Another one I like. So, yeah. 1974 Death Wish. Charles Bronson, classic. Classic. I just wanted to bring everyone a review on this. All right, folks. Have a good one. And peace out.